Basketball is like photography. If you don't focus, you'll only get the negative. Dan Frisbee said that, and I'm saying this. Welcome to High and Low. Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Basketball Podcast. This is episode number 100 and Jackson, aka episode number 118. 18 is the number that was won by legendary coach Phil Jackson when he played for the New York Knicks. Now, Phil Jackson is widely known due to his success as a head coach. He coached 2 dynasties featuring 3 of the greatest players of all time. So, of course, he should be known for that. However, Phil was part of 2 championship teams, the only championships in the Knicks' storied history. He wasn't Willis Reed, but he was a hard-nosed contributor. We chipped in with that toughness and tenacity, the buzzwords that they use to describe players who don't fill up the stat sheet. Kind of like Sam Thomas. The Sam Thomases of the world, the WNBA player who averaged 0.4 points per game, 4.9 minutes per game, and still made the WNBA all-rookie team. Goodness gracious, how did that happen? We know it wasn't her stats that got her there, but it must have been her toughness and tenacity.
Wait. What's the name? What was that bald Jackson on Sacramento? What was that guy's name? You remember him? Point guard, short guy.
Oh, Bobby Jackson.
Bobby Jackson. Yes, he was a silent contributor as well. Toughness and tenacity.
Oh, look at him dive for that loose ball.
Oh, hard-nosed.
Bobby Jackson. Hard-nosed. Anyway, my name is Ike Amaechi, and I'm joined by Hugo, Sean Khan, and Mitch Orsatti. Around here, we live by the strict code governed by the High and Low Life Society, which means we talk about basketball, especially and specifically the NBA. We talk about it at any time, anywhere, north, south, east, west, high and low. This week on High and Low, we're talking about the difference between an NBA career of quality and an NBA career of quantity. Some players achieve so much in a short period of time. Some achieve a great deal in a longer period of time. I mean, can you really penalize a player for not having the all-time numbers, even though they didn't have a chance to play long enough? Does accomplishing a lot in a shorter length of time give a legacy a greater advantage? These are things we'll talk about. We have 2 perfect examples to use, players who are major parts of these debates, and we'll talk about that comparison. But before we dive into that, we have an interesting listener question that will have us talking about our tolerance for the toxic superstar. Talking about you, KD. Or are we? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Are they worth the trouble? That's the question. Stay tuned for that. Before we lock in, let's check in. It's almost a full house for episode number 100 and Phil, episode 100 and Jackson. Hugo, Sean, and Mitch are back at the table. Gentlemen, summer's almost over, which means training camp is around the corner. Are you excited to see the clips from Pro-Am leagues and the meaningless Bronny James in Europe highlights disappear and then get into some real basketball?
I got to be honest, I'm loving it because the Raps have Rico Hines, and those runs look real good. No, stop it. Stop it.
Oh, man. Listen, my highlight of the week was watching LeBron, Bronny, and the other them come down.
Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce come down and dunk in repeating succession. And I was just like, okay, this is a family affair. That's really beautiful to see. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so touching.
Yeah.
With that much energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah. It was really fun. I honestly, I envy them because I know like 3 people in my family couldn't dunk, right? So it's an achievement that definitely should get them in the Guinness Book of World Records.
True, it's a fact.
Yeah,
it's a fact. Can anyone in your family dunk?
I was about to ask.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's unique that 3 people can.
Anyway, Hugo, Sean, Mitch, I appreciate your time this week. Thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for joining us for yet another installment of the program. Thank you for making us a part of your routine, your weekly routine. Another week, another episode, more NBA. More or less NBA.
Close.
Yeah, less NBA, but more high and low. This week in NBA history, we had some meaningful basketball, believe it or not. As I've said this before, the summer is an NBA desert where fans are crawling and dragging themselves across a hot, scorching, barren wasteland, desperate for just a tiny, refreshing drop of real hoops. August of 2020 was deep in the belly of the pandemic. There was little to like about that period of our lives. One thing that we did get to enjoy as a result of the pandemic was basketball in August. Usually the quietest period when it comes to the NBA. In August 2020, we were in the midst of the NBA playoffs. You guys remember that? We were enjoying the remnants of the NBA bubble effect.
Bubble juice.
Yes, bubble juice. Two people who had bubble juice. Let's go back to August 23rd, 2020. Game 4 between the Jazz and Nuggets in the first round of the NBA playoffs, bubble edition. Utah's Donovan Mitchell and Denver's Jamal Murray. Remember that guy? Both players made history being the first opposing players to score 50 points or more each in a postseason game. Donovan Mitchell scored 51 on 15 for 27 shooting, and then Murray scored 50 on 18 for 31 shooting, 9 for 15 from 3. Utah would win the game 129-127, take game 4, as well as a commanding 3-1 lead. However, they didn't learn from the Warriors' mistake in 2016, and they blew that commanding lead in the series by losing the next 3 games and packing it up. It left the bubble, and Denver moved on. And as if that's not enough quality basketball on a busy August Sunday back in 2020, we were treated to Luka Doncic torching the Clippers in Game 4 of that series, fueled by Luka's efforts. Dallas won the game 135-133, tied the series with a buzzer-beating step back by Luka, and he finished the game with 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists. Crazy. And his second straight triple-double in that series. Ridiculous numbers. I mean, you can't even do that on 2K. Anyway, that's a little something for the NBA history nerds. There's always something on the minds of those who consider themselves basketball connoisseurs, super hoopers, and hoopers. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about something important.
I have a listener question from Gaines in Battle Creek, Michigan. Shout out to Michigan, actually. It's a place I called home for a short period of time. Quick story. My first night in my new apartment in Detroit, after a day of moving, like heavy lifting, and everything was carefully boxed up and unmarked so people in the neighborhood don't get ideas. I'm relaxing on the couch in the house or in the apartment. I look out the window. I see a man gliding across the courtyard dressed in a purple suit with a purple hat, purple feather, purple shoes. Had to assume were gaiters, capped off with a gold cane with purple trim. And it wouldn't be the last time I saw this man. I actually saw this man again.
That's amazing.
On a very eerie night. And he was dressed in all red. It's like, I don't know. It's like he was inspired by whichever Kool-Aid he was drinking that morning.
I thought that was a Laker fan for a second. I was like, in Detroit, what's going on there?
I found out exactly who this guy was. But again, that's a story for another day. Shout out to the 313. But let's get to Gaines' question. Question is this. Would you rather coach a winning team with a toxic superstar that hates you and wants you fired? Or would you rather coach a young, developing team of good prospects that'll probably finish at the bottom of the league? How would you answer this question, guys?
What is my job security looking like? If my job is on the rocks, then I'm going with the toxic star player who's going to lead me to maybe a chip. Playoffs, deep playoff run at least. But if I'm like locked in, then I'm betting on myself and the organization and my coaching staff that we can develop these young guys into contenders and then maybe build a chemistry and build a culture throughout the organization.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think the only thing that had me leaning towards coaching the toxic player was a coach coaching those types of teams are typically well-known, well-established in the league. The coach coaching the prospect team may not even get another head coaching gig. Even if his team does show improvement, he may just be there as like sort of like an interim type coach. So, that said, like I think while the winning coach might get some like more accolades and recognition, I think the stress that comes along with that, with being in that situation, has me leaning towards being the other coach. I feel like the coach of the toxic player is going to have like stomach issues and like can't sleep and like he's all stressed out. I feel like the other coach has something to lose. He probably is a lot happier when he goes home. His media scrums probably aren't as intense, and he's probably living a much less stressful life. So I think if I had to choose, I would pick the coach of the prospects.
Here's an example of the media scrum. Dwayne Casey, this is your 7th losing season in a row. Tell me what you're going to do differently next year. It doesn't matter. I got 6 years on my contract, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, very good question. Interesting answers. I guess you have to ask yourself, what type of coach or who do you want to be? Do you want to be Mark Jackson or do you want to be Steve Kerr? I would assume you'd rather be Steve Kerr. You'll get the accolades and the respect for dealing with a toxic.
Don't ask Steven.
Well, yeah, but you'll still get the accolades and respect for dealing with multiple personalities, toxic situations, but galvanizing the entire team in order to win a championship, right? Versus, developing a young bunch of guys for somebody else to benefit from. So
that's a good point.
You obviously go with the first one. In the NBA, it's all about buckets. It's all about winning. Everything else doesn't matter.
I take it back. That's not a good example. Who is the toxic person in your scenario? If you're equating this to the Warriors.
Draymond Green?
No. He was a bench player. He was a bench player, man. He was on the bench, and then Steve Kerr started him instead of David Lee.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, Steve Kerr started him. That's fine, but he's not a toxic player. He's not.
No, he's not a toxic player.
Okay.
No, he's not toxic.
Maybe
no,
toxic.
Yeah. Toxic. Has he ever requested a trade? Has he ever talked badly about his teammates while they were teammates?
I mean, him and KD, he wants some money.
After
KD is a toxic player. On the Nets.
KD.
Put yourself in Steve Nash's position.
Okay, yes, exactly. Okay. I'm just saying, Draymond Green's the best example I can use on that squad. People would look at him.
That's the easiest example you could use.
Yes,
because it's a bad example.
No, listen, I'm going with it. It can't change my mind. I won't be swayed.
But he was technically toxic on both teams, so it doesn't really you can't compare those because they coach the exact same. No, Draymond Green. He was playing under
Mark Jackson and
what's his name? So
Steve Kerr. What's his name?
Yeah, I almost said Steve Nash. I knew that wasn't the right answer, but yeah, I mean, but you also made a funny point too. And I actually was going to say this, and I thought against it that if you're coaching the team of prospects, you have no expectations. You're essentially an interim coach, like I said. So until that team turns a corner and they hire a white coach, more established coach.
A non
lose your job.
Wow.
Which is essentially what happened in Golden State, I guess. If you're going to compare anything, that's what you should compare.
Suspend this guy.
This might be our worst running joke, I think, actually.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's up
Not
there.
Sure how.
To some of us, it's not a joke. That's the thing.
I think we avoided Matrix style, just dodging those bullets. Come on, the best example is the Brooklyn Nets example.
Yeah, they got two of them.
Would you step into that position, where you have a star that basically get out of here? It's either me or him. Or would you rather coach the Orlando Magic?
No, Orlando. I don't want it to be Orlando.
Can't be Sacramento.
No, Sacramento's the worst choice. Give me Indiana. I'll take Indiana.
It's Indiana. Sure.
All right. Yes. I take that. As long as my job is safe, then I take that. Yeah. If my job is safe and there's quality young guys on there, sure. Because then you get then you get a chance. Yes. That's what I'm saying. If is not there, then give me KD. Except it's like not just KD, it's KD and Kyrie and Ben Simmons. What the hell? I don't want that job ever.
It's a lot of toxicity on one roster.
Yeah, that's true. And just another reminder to listeners, you know where to find us. We're on Instagram, TikTok. We're on Twitter as well. The links are all in the show notes. You know where to find it. It's time to put this segment in that same courtyard that I was talking about in the middle of Detroit. And we're going to dress this segment in a skin-tight leopard print dress, bad makeup, a botched BBL, and a wig that would make Tina Turner say, "Ooh, that's too much."
Wow.
So watch out for that man in the purple, man. I don't know. He might be a pimp. Anyway, good luck to that. When we come back, we're talking about the difference between quantity and quality when it comes to legacy. The difference between an NBA star who has spent a long career stacking up stats and an NBA star who did the most with the least. We'll be right back with more High and Low.
Great Tina Turner.
This moment is brought to you by High and Low listeners. This week, we had listeners share their top 5 players that faced Jordan and LeBron in the finals. We heard from Shango in Shreveport, Louisiana. Shout out to you. And his top 5 are as follows, starting with number 5, Karl Malone. That's Mitch's favorite. He lost to MJ twice. Number 4 is Kevin Durant, KD, who beat LeBron twice. Number 3 is Tim Duncan, who lost to and then took a title from LeBron. Number 2 is Steph Curry, probably LeBron's greatest finals rival, and took 3 from LeBron. So I don't know if you want to call it a rivalry, but hey, Number 1 is Magic Johnson, who met Jordan in the 91 finals and lost. But like Duncan, he was at the tail end of his career. But hey, a win's a win, a loss is a loss. Great list, Shango. I'm sure it's sparking debate somewhere right now. So thank you. Appreciate you. Now let's get back to the show. We are back. I'm Ike Amaechi, and I'm here with Hugo, Mitch, Orsatti, and Sean Khan. We like to compare players around here. We compare their achievements, accolades, the careers. We love having these top 10 conversations. We assess on a micro level, looking at the single season or their time with a particular team, or we assess on a macro level and look at the entire career. And there's something tricky about that comparison. Set aside the fact that comparing players from different eras presents its own challenges. But what about players who play in the same era, but their stats can tell very different stories? Like John Stockton, for example. John Stockton and Magic Johnson, prime examples. Similar era, give or take a few seasons. Well, take a few seasons. Same position, but Magic won the chips. He won the MVPs in a relatively short career compared to John Stockton's. Stockton tallied up the stats where he eventually exceeded Magic's career assist numbers. He holds the record to this day. But nobody, I hope, will tell you that Stockton is the greatest point guard of all time. No shot fired at John Stockton, but I don't think anyone would put John Stockton over Magic Johnson.
There might be a couple whites in the Midwest, too.
Okay.
No strays.
No strays. But hey, similar situation, in my opinion, to Michael Jordan and LeBron James. LeBron is much more decorated than Stockton, of course, but he's enjoyed a long, fruitful career that has allowed him to tally up the stats, similar to what Stockton was able to do, and it puts him at the top or close to the top in many different categories. Jordan had a shorter career, but he was a demigod on the court. Title after title, MVPs, scoring titles. He did it all. Quality. Now, assuming that we're all in agreement about Magic over Stockton, let me ask you this. If the quality in Magic Johnson's career supersedes the quantity in John Stockton's, can the same apply when comparing the careers of Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
It's disrespectful, in my opinion.
Shut up, stupid.
No, I mean, no, like, I don't think it works out that way when you're comparing those two. Like, yeah, like you mentioned it, like the race between Jordan and LeBron is a lot closer than Stockton and Magic. I think, like, 9 out of every 10 knowledgeable basketball fans would take Jordan over LeBron. I think as long as they play enough games that we can consider them all-time greats, the longevity aspect is minimal. LeBron, I think, has to be commended for playing at this level for so long. And I've said this before, calling someone the second greatest ever at anything is a massive compliment. But Jordan still played over 1,000 regular season games, and LeBron is approaching 1,400. So I think when you have that much of a sample size, the only thing to really consider at that point is their peak. And I think Jordan in his prime is the greatest player ever.
What a great answer.
Love it.
Damn.
It's because I can't follow that.
Oh, I guess I'll give it a shot. I mean, you go. You want to go or? Yeah.
No,
you
no.
go. You go.
No, you go. No, you go. You go. I have a better answer than you once I think about it. You go.
That's
Wow.
that's what I mean. I know you're gonna have a great answer, so that's why I think you should go first. Because I think you should go because you might trump Sean's answer. I think you should go.
Age before beauty. That's all.
I'm keeping all of this.
See what you've done, Sean? Okay, look, I love this question because either way you slice it, Jordan comes out ahead. If you want to argue the inverse, then Jordan still has better stats in a lot of areas than LeBron, even though LeBron has played, what are we at, 20 seasons and counting? Almost. Or is this his 20th? Or is this his 19th? Anyways, whatever. Sure, like LeBron will end up as the player who has scored, the most points in NBA history and have a leg up on pretty much every other counting accomplishment, such like number of All-Star games and all NBA seasons, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, he's still going to fall short in other areas too. Like the fact that Jordan played really 13 seasons, I don't like the Washington seasons never happened in my head. Except for that like 1 2-handed block off the backboard. That happened, but nothing else. He's still ahead of LeBron in a lot of other areas. But most importantly, and I've said this before on this podcast, is he's going to fall well short of the mythos of Jordan because of the amount of seasons he's played. And to Sean's very good point, right? Like once you reach a certain number of seasons, it doesn't matter anymore. You look at the peak and no one, I don't think, and I'll talk about this more later, is ever going to come close to what Jordan put up there. Right?
I mean, this is a fact that I can't disagree with this point.
You can't. The mythos alone plus the incredible accomplishments is too much. Doesn't matter how many seasons you play. 40 seasons, it's not going to matter.
Mythos is a good word to describe what Jordan has accomplished because it has created this. It's created this legend.
Yeah.
And this shadow that LeBron just can't seem to escape.
I was going to say it's crazy because you talk about mythos. Kids now that haven't even seen Jordan play still recognize that Jordan is the greatest of all time. Maybe not in the same ratio that our generation does, but I would say the majority of them still would say Jordan's the greatest of all time.
And you know why that's happening?
Because
their parents are saying
exactly.
When they're such a young age, the parents, you know who the greatest player of all time is? Michael Jordan. I'm saying it to my son right now.
We're doing our job
every day. Every day when he wakes up, don't forget.
Oh yeah, we'll play, and then he says, "You be Steph Curry, and I'm going to be LeBron James." Excuse me, what did you just say?
But before Hugo goes here, because now he's waited too long, and I'm just going to keep talking. I didn't get to talk about it last week, and it's good that I didn't because I think it fits better with this topic. I want to give a shout out to Draymond Green on his podcast where he said, in the comparing eras that you mentioned in lead up here, just because the internet is great doesn't mean AOL wasn't great when it was being used, right? Like, and then why can't we do that with basketball? Such a salient point that I think is just no one has really talked about it, and it makes so much sense.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Come on, Hugo. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So I think this is a funny question, only because we're once again comparing Michael Jordan to LeBron James, and I don't know. Okay, let's put it this way. Maybe if LeBron played in Jordan, no, that won't work. Maybe if Jordan played in LeBron's era, no, that won't work. Like LeBron's got just ridiculous stats, and he will always be lauded for those stats. But Jordan has the quality, right? 6 championships in a row, like
6 for 6.
Like you can't beat that. Like, you know what I mean? Like the only other person who I can honestly say impressed me was Giannis in his finals run. Like that. That's.
Are you saying that LeBron has not impressed you?
No, he hasn't. It's
wow.
There's only listen. You
Down
know,
3-1 to the Warriors.
Listen. There's only one version of LeBron James that I like. One version. You know that.
God. And that was an impressive. Version. But that's an impressive version. What are you talking about?
Listen. I'm just saying Giannis's finals run. That's the kind of stuff I expect LeBron to be doing on a regular basis and winning chips if he even wants to fathom to have a chance at catching Jordan. Even if he ends up with 6. Let's say LeBron ends up with 6 championships. He's still going to be regarded as number 2.
Yep.
So what are we talking about?
Not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. You know, there's a lot of players that they know that they wish they could be number 2, right? Or 14.
Relax, not 14, man. It's 13.
13, right?
Oh, down,
but it's just, I feel bad for LeBron. Every time it's him and Jordan in a sentence, you just know it's never going to go his way.
Don't feel bad for LeBron. He's made $500 million in basketball. So
LeBron gonna be all right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Jordan's made that and a whole bunch more off his name and his shoes and all this. I mean, anyway, I digress. It's just, it's a funny question. I don't know why it was asked, but I'm cool with it.
Hey, man.
Wow. No strays. This is episode strays and no strays. I love it.
You wanted me to answer, so I answered.
Barrel to the head, man.
He's a drunk.
Goodness.
He's disrespectful.
Anyway, all right. Well, on that note, let's take a break because this guy got me tight. Tee up, Hugo.
Pause.
Goodness. No pause. Tee up. We'll be right back with more High and Low. And we are back. This is High and Low. And I have one more question before we sign off. Quickly. So just piggybacking off of the previous question. So what's more likely to occur? Another Michael Jordan or another LeBron James?
I feel like Hugo loves this question.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo, you chomping at the bit?
Here we go. Another
could be a trick question. Could be a trick question.
Okay, so
it's not really a comparison. But
I will say it'll be another LeBron James. I think that's an easier thing to see happen than another Michael Jordan.
So I'll say, haven't we already seen another Michael Jordan when Kobe played?
Nope.
So obviously not. So again, let's just say moving forward from today, who are we going to see? I think the issue with recreating Jordan's game now is that he didn't really shoot many threes. So obviously, like today's and the future of the game is all about the 3-point shot. That said, like the uniqueness of LeBron's size and athleticism may never be seen again on a basketball court. I feel like Giannis is kind of knocking on that door, but he can't shoot. But
you can tack a lot more ands onto that sentence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Intelligence, passing.
Yeah, dribbling. Yeah, no, you're right. I think.
I don't know, man. Victor Wembanyama.
I heard a strange noise.
We'll see. He improves every offseason. So, but I think another point I wanted to make, and I'm just going to pull this from I'm pulling from different sports again. I think we've seen similar athletes to LeBron, just not on the basketball court. They were all playing football, and I think minor league football numbers are dwindling in the U.S. because of the CTE concussion epidemic. So I'd be inclined to say maybe we'll see another LeBron before we see another Jordan, just because of that.
Oh, Sean, it's a good thing you snuck that last bit in because I was about to throw in a classic Hugo euphemism. I'm just going to answer the question correctly now. But thank you for not making me have to do that. Yes, we're going to see a LeBron for the exact same reason I brought up in the last segment, the mythos. When Jordan was at the height of being Jordan, he wasn't only the biggest athlete in the world, he was a global sensation. like a star among stars. A large part of why that is because there was just less noise in the world, right? Like now LeBron is here and there's a million other things to pay attention to, right? When it was Jordan, I don't know what, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Princess Diana. Is that it? Like maybe a couple serial killers. Like, I don't know. Like, there just really wasn't much else to talk about. And Jordan was bigger than big, right? Like now LeBron, he's been the biggest NBA story for what, 2 decades, I guess. Like, but he hasn't come close to sniffing the cultural relevance that Jordan carried with him. Not even close. And to your point, Sean, like about LeBron being a physical freak with everything, right? Shooting, court vision, dribbling, passing, everything, you name it, LeBron has it. And at a point, defense as well. We're going to see that combination of a human physique before we see the cultural relevance that we had with Jordan.
You made a point about like there being more distractions, more things to be focused on. What about like more talent in the NBA too? Like LeBron's competition. Like he has how many top 15 players by the time he's all said and done,
that's a great
play with?
Great
how many
point.
did Jordan play against?
Not
outside of Magic and Larry,
who were really, they were at the tail end.
Yeah,
right? Like they were coming down. Yeah, that's an excellent point. We'll remember KD and we'll remember Curry and and Giannis eventually, I guess. But then that'll
Kobe
be a whole
too,
other.
Was there for a long time. Yeah.
See, that's you know what that is. That's relevant to the point. I brought up Kobe last there. I shouldn't have. It should have been the first player I brought up. But because there's so much going on and so much other talent, away he went.
Exactly.
So disrespectful, man. Rest in peace, Kobe.
I brought him up. It's always respecting that.
There's a counter to that point. Just looking at the players that Michael Jordan, that he faced off.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those guys would be considered top 15 players if Michael Jordan wasn't there to thwart their efforts?
Well, you're only erasing one player, as big as that one player was.
Who?
Carmelo.
What? Jordan. No, Jordan. You're only taking Jordan out of the equation here. So they'd be one spot better. That's it.
No, but if you...
Let's say Utah wins 2
that's
titles.
6 championships.
Say,
That's 6 championships.
Okay, I see what you
win
mean.
a title or 2.
Right.
Say Hakeem wins 3 or 4 titles, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. Does Hakeem win 4 titles? And we're thinking of him as a top 5 player, And where do we put Carmelo if he has 2 championships under his belt?
Then let's do that with LeBron too. Do that with LeBron for the chips he won too. Does it affect anybody's legacy? Probably. What about the teams he took out every year? He's been to the finals 9 years straight at one point.
Yeah,
there's some legacy.
Terrible.
Doesn't matter. There's legacies affected.
There's legacies affected, but you got to win the championship. That's just how small-minded NBA fans are and NBA analysts and all that stuff.
Who made that point?
Wow. Shots. 3 shots at all NBA.
I'm just saying. Like we judge players based on their championships, their titles, and their MVPs.
True.
Steven has doubled down on his podcast talking about it's not even about MVPs, it's about finals MVPs.
Yeah.
So if you remove Jordan from that equation and just say that he didn't win those 6 titles, right? That changes a lot for these guys because we're judging them based on the titles that they won. Like Patrick Ewing is not even whispered in any of these conversations, but how many finals, how many championships could he have won if they didn't have the Bulls? And these were good New York Knicks teams that could have gone to the finals and beat the Western Conference
Reggie too.
representative.
Yeah, Reggie too.
Reggie Miller, like we talk about how good the competition is right now, or at least in the last 20 years, but I think Jordan erased all of that. That's just part of that mythos. That's part of that Jordan mystique, that power.
Good counter.
How many titles will the Pistons have won?
Oh, my goodness.
Think about
they
that.
They would have had at least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Zeke would be a legend.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas
no one says John Stockton's name anymore if Isaiah Thomas has 4 chips.
Exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
And people barely say Isaiah Thomas's name now, but I think they should be saying it a lot more.
Well, we say Isaiah Thomas's name for the other reason.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do
I
it.
didn't listen.
other
You go.
Isaiah
Listen,
Thomas.
I didn't do anything.
I know. That's what I'm saying to you. Don't do it.
Isaiah did enough.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy. I'm not going to deny that LeBron hasn't had some great players in his era. But, yeah, definitely the same can be said about Michael Jordan. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess because all those guys won chips, right? Like all those guys won chips. Curry's won a chip. KD's won a chip.
Yeah.
Giannis has won a
Yeah.
chip. None
KD
of those,
should have never-
none of those Jordan competitors won anything. Zero.
Exactly. Because he stopped them in their tracks, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the ultimate Jordan fans and, the Kobe fans who will always try to disparage LeBron will say that he's let it slip through his fingers too many times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that allowed these other guys to win chips.
Against Jordan's never let it slip.
Never.
Zero.
Never even going to a game 7 in the finals.
Yeah. Jordan said, "No, you're not getting this.
He
I'm here.
slammed the door.
I earned it." Exactly. And that's a 6 for 6. Yeah, that's just that mystique.
You know the beauty of what you just said? Sorry to cut you off. Even if you didn't say it, the mythos did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we just answered this question.
Yeah. Kudos to us. Well done.
Pat yourself on the back, folks. Pat yourself
But
on
it's
the back.
funny how you can look at the same
There we
scenario
go.
and take two different sides of the coin. Like you can take two different arguments. Like, well, Jordan didn't have the competition. Well, because Jordan stopped the competition.
Yeah. And that's what I said at the
Yes.
beginning of this too. Jordan comes out the winner no matter how, no matter what way you slice any question.
Exactly.
Jordan wins.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, Jordan didn't have the competition, but if he had the competition, he would have won anyway. So
He had the
He did have the
competition and he
competition.
won.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If he had the
exactly.
competition and they won, he wouldn't be Jordan. That's the thing right there.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Like LeBron even let Dirk win a title. Like,
Oh, come on. Straight shots at Dirk, too? Shoot.
No, listen.
Straight
No.
shots.
Listen, we've said this before. It wasn't Dirk. It was that Cleveland Cavaliers rivalry. Had he come out on top of that rivalry, he might have had a really legit chance at making the argument interesting. Let's just say that.
What are you
Which
talking
rivalry?
about?
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You know, no one knows who you're
Sorry. No, sorry, LeBron. LeBron. No. You were talking about Dirk and all that. I'm sorry. Anyway, we talked before. I don't think you guys were here. I think it was
Miami
one of my-
versus
Miami,
Dallas?
Dallas.
Yeah,
Not
no, I
Cleveland.
think but I think it was an episode where it was just me and I was running the show. We talked about championships and LeBron and whatnot, and we had talked about how LeBron had missed his opportunity at making the argument interesting.
Oh, he
had
didn't
he
have
been
any
able to beat-
robberies.
Well, no,
Yes.
had he beat Cleveland, sorry, not Cleveland, Golden State,
Golden State.
he would have had
Yeah.
that chance. That was his moment, and
Yeah.
never happened for him.
Well, he
lost.
did beat them.
Yeah.
Well,
He lost too many. He lost too
Yeah.
many for it to be a rivalry.
Yeah.
So,
even the
so
ones he
you're,
won.
3 out of 4, right?
you're
Yeah.
telling me
Yeah.
you're telling me Dirk caught stray shots for nothing there? Oh
Yeah,
my
pretty
god,
much.
poor Dirk.
Who cares?
Can I just say this? And I really don't want to pile on LeBron, but I think
I do.
I
Let's
have
keep
to
going.
Pause.
LeBron allowed.
Stop, stop.
Yeah, I know. LeBron allowed for too many getbacks.
Yep.
You can't allow them to get back. You can't allow for the get back.
You got to beat
No,
San
but I
Antonio twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't
Like-
you can't let them demolish you and embarrass you. Embarrass you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when you're up against the legacy of Michael Jordan, who allowed for none of that. Michael Jordan left no room for any sort of retaliation. You got knocked down, knocked out, and you slept for the next 3 days, or you were in a coma for the next 15 years. But there was no opportunity for you to get back at Michael Jordan. That was it. So being up against that, there was no room for error for LeBron at any point in his career. And I think there were just too many things that happened that just came up. Too many getbacks.
Yeah.
But you know what, LeBron? There's nothing wrong,
Nothing wrong with being number 2.
as Sean would say.
Massive compliment.
Huge compliment, LeBron. You're doing great.
Not many people can say they're number 2.
Oh, God.
I love
We
it.
have to wake up
I love
tomorrow and go back to our shitty lives.
Hey, whoa.
Oh, I'm just quoting LeBron. Come on.
But you see what Mitch did there, right? I said number 2, and Mitch said, "Smart
I
guy,
know.
smart guy." I felt eye roll.
Oh, He's rolling his eyes.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Silence.
Why the fuck I can't shoot 3-point shots?
Love it.
You know what I love? I love that this brings us to the end of this episode of High and Low. So thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mitch. And hey, subscribe to High and Low anywhere you find podcasts. We're everywhere. And just make us a part of your weekly routine. And you know where to find us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Links to those are in the show notes. So where can listeners find you, Sean?
Yeah, you guys can find me at home. Today is mine and my wife's 3rd anniversary, so happy anniversary, Rena.
Hey.
This is not going to air until Monday, but thank you for letting me do this podcast. So clearly I'll be home for the next foreseeable future because I skipped our anniversary to do the podcast. So.
Oh, wow. Oh. Snap. It's dedication.
I hope she's not going to listen to this. Wow.
She won't. She won't.
She doesn't listen.
It's not my fault.
Okay, let's do it. Okay.
That's an empty shout out. I love it.
Congratulations, Sean. Congratulations. Man.
Thank you.
Big. And Mitch, where can they find you?
Nah. Pass this
Nah.
week. Nah.
That's good. Nah. All right. So who's going to rep for the Thirsties? Hugo, where can they find you?
What have I done? No.
Yeah. You can find me at IG under some thirsty something. I don't know. I'm gonna change it this week. I'll see what I can do.
It's another alley-oop, Hugo. Again.
Look at that.
Oh,
What?
Look at that.
Sorry, what? Yo, I'm Kwame Brown on the block. What do you want, man? Huh? What?
Yeah, you are Kwame Brown on that. Oh my God.
Goodness gracious, man.
Yeah,
You guys-
nah, man. I'm not gonna be found either, man. I'm gonna chill and just enjoy the dog days of summer with my kids and just try to unplug, man. Just sometimes you got to unplug from everything and just take care of yourself. So I think that's what I'm gonna do.
I've never heard anyone belittle themselves more than saying, "I'm Kwame Brown on the block."
Wow.
Hugo, you blew my mind.
Can't
there.
get much lower than that.
Can't get much worse.
Hey, listen, man. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes it's genius.
My God.
That was well done.
All right. Well, once again, Music is by Live of the Enjoy Music Group. You can find Live on Twitter and Instagram at LYVE. Additional music by Sonny Rockwell of The Goodness. Can't find that guy anywhere, I promise. Sound design is by Vonn+Abrahamm. This is a Vonn+Abrahamm podcast, just in case you didn't know. Like I say every single week. So on behalf of Hugo, Sean, and Mitch, I'm Ike Amaechi. Thank you for listening to High and Low. We'll see you next week.
Did you guys notice that Scottie caught a stray in Ike's intro? Scottie Pippen. This guy's talking about Joel Jackson coaching the 3 greatest players of all time. No wonder Scottie is